Hey everyone, Kathy Brophy, Little Victories. Really glad you are joining us today. Today I sit down with Jo Moseley. When she was 54, she realized that life was short and precious. And she said that if she had even the tiniest spark of a dream, she owed it to herself to try and make that dream come true. Brave Enough, A Journey Home to Joy. She is an award-winning best-selling author, award-winning tiny filmmaker, speaker, podcaster, panel host, and freelance creative. And I am so glad that she chose to sit down with me today and share some of her stories. So let's get over to the studio and meet Jo. Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Little Victories. I'm really happy you're here. And I am here with Jo Moseley, who you are going to learn so much about. I found Jo on Instagram pretty innocently as we both were speaking to the 60 plus community, I think, and a lot of her feeds started coming my way. I was liking them and vice versa. She was doing the same for me with some of the people that I had interviewed. I reached out and she was like, yes, let's have a chat. So here we are. So Jo, welcome to Little Victories.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute joy to be here. Thank you.
So tell folks, where are you right now?
I live on the northeast coast of England, near a town called Whitby, which is known for Whitby Abbey and Dracula and goths and fishing and two beautiful piers. So I live in a little village nearby there.
And here I am from Massachusetts, in Metro West Boston, and here we are having a conversation. So it's so cool.
Amazing.
So thank you for being here.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So let's. I think one of the first things that connected us was our conversations and interest in aging. Do you want to share a little bit when people talk about aging? What do you think about?
Yeah, I think the narrative is still that it's a period of decline, and obviously there are things that happen to our bodies, and we can't pretend that they don't. But I think there's also an opportunity for. I like to talk about aging joyfully and bravely and creatively, and so that's sort of how I have approached my late 50s and 60s. I spoke at an event recently, and the woman that was introducing me, she had said at the end of the previous event, and Jo's going to talk about aging gracefully. And I was like, what? I can't think of anybody who's least going to talk about aging gracefully. And so, yeah, I think that's the narrative is that we've been fed. And that's certainly not the one that I would adhere to. So bravely, courageously, creatively, joyfully. And having it as an opportunity to keep exploring, keep growing. That's what I'm trying to do in my 60s. Obviously, I can't speak, I live with and I look after my 92-year-old father. So he has a different perspective. He's 30 years on from me. And he would have maybe a different perspective of what it's like to be in his 90s. But certainly in my 50s and 60s, that's how I perceive aging right now.
Yeah, so let's take a moment since you brought up your dad. So we chatted a little bit before I hit record, and that my podcast is an inspiration to my dad. And he was the author of a book, and I know you're an author, so I want to give you time to talk about that. But my dad wrote a book called Little Victories to help people that had found themselves unemployed and helping them get back their confidence, their courage, to reapply for a job, right? And all that comes with low morale, depression, not feeling good about ourselves. And so when he passed in 2020, I was like, what a great mantra to live by if we can find little victories each day in our lives, right? And turn them into bigger wins. So yes, you are caring for your 92-year-old father. Tell us a little bit about your dad.
So my mum died in 2013, and my dad is really independent, bright as a button. He reads all the time. If the Wi-Fi goes down, it's like, oh, I'll have to watch the telly rather than get my news on my iPad. And but he needs, some extra help, so to speak. So I moved here at the end of January 2025. A very lovely relationship had come to an end. We've been together for a long, long time. We're still great friends, the chap and I, but the relationship ended. And I came to live with and look after Dad and sort of, just look after each other. He had stopped driving. His best friend had died. And so I came to look after him, and it works really well. So that's what I do. And as I say, he has a very different view of aging. It's not always as positive as mine, but he is a great role model for always just being super active. And he has just a great attitude to life and a great attitude to just, getting up each day and making the most of it.
Yes, and is he aware of all that you are doing when you are not caring for him?
Sort of, yeah. He's a bit like, it was quite funny because with my third book, it has a lot of stories of people, and he said, and he was reading it, and he said, "Where do you find all these people?" And I said, "Oh, Instagram, social media. I find, just like we met." And he said, "Oh, that's what you're
Right.
doing when you're playing on your phone." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm writing books, Dad, and I'm researching." So yeah, he is, and I'll be like, "Oh, I've just got to go upstairs and have an interview, or I've just got to go out and do this or whatever." So yeah, I'm not sure he completely knows what I'm doing, but he knows I write books, and he knows that I'm always just trying to work and do things around looking after him. So yeah.
What's your dad's name?
John.
John. Hi, John. All right, so I have a question. I'm going to ask you about your books, but one of my warm-up questions, even though we've gotten into a little bit, is if you were to walk into a room and there was a song that would play each time you walked into that room, what would your song be?
I'm going to choose a song that means quite a lot to me. So in 2013, my mum died. And in 2014, I started a big challenge to row 1,000,000 meters and a marathon and 2 half marathons for a cancer charity. And I had one song on repeat, and that was Dolly Parton's Try. And I don't know if you know Dolly, you'll know Dolly Parton. I mean, who doesn't?
I love Dolly Parton. I don't know if I'm familiar with that song.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's about the first to touch the mountain, the first to touch the sky. But basically, it's like what she's saying is you can't reach any goal unless you just start. You just try. You just got to keep trying. And I think that I did this challenge over 8 months, so it was a long challenge. And I would listen to that on the way to work. I would listen to it on my little iPod that we had back in 2014. And it just would be on repeat, Dolly Parton's Try. Amazing. And she's an amazing inspiration. And, she's so powerful around her books and the commitment she makes to people reading. So it would be Dolly Parton. Yeah. I'm a trier. I'm never an overnight success, but I am a trier.
Yeah, yes, you are. Certainly a trier. So you've written 3 books now? Is that
Yeah.
what you said, 3? So
Yes.
can you
Three
tell us
books.
a little about your books? And
Uh,
yes.
yeah. So the first book, Stand Up Paddleboarding in Great Britain, I wrote in 2021, and it was published in 22, and that is the first and only book that is dedicated to stand-up paddleboarding in the UK, as only paddleboarding, so not kayaking and canoeing. And so in summer of 2021, I basically gave up my job and I travel around the country in my little car, paddleboarding in different places, to write this book. And it's full of just beautiful photography, and stories. So it's a guidebook, so you get all the information you need, maps and where to put in, where to get out, all the safety and cafes, but you also get a story of me paddleboarding with somebody, and what paddleboarding means to them, or what that place means to them, which is wonderful. And then that went so well, they asked me to do one about the Lake District. So the Lake District is in the northwest of England. Beautiful place, lots of lakes, very scenic, just, very special. And so I wrote that book. Again, lots of stories, lots of amazing photography. And then the third book is called Adventures on the Water, The Power of Paddleboarding to Change Lives. And this is not me writing the stories, this is me asking other people to write stories about how paddleboarding has changed their lives. So that's like the mental health benefits, the physical health benefits, social, emotional. So yeah, my 3 books.
So why paddleboarding?
So in 2016, I took my first paddleboarding lesson. And I'd injured my leg at the beginning of the year, and I took a paddleboarding as my knee healed. I took a paddleboarding lesson, and the minute I stood up on the paddleboard, I always say I felt like a warrior, not a worrier. And I am naturally quite a worrier. And I just felt amazing. And so about 2 months later, I decided I was going to paddleboard 128 miles from Liverpool on the west coast to the middle of the country to Leeds, along the Leeds and Liverpool Canal. And when I told people I was going to do it, I was told that it sounded quite complex, quite boring, but also too difficult for a woman of my age. And I was only 51. So I put the dream away. A woman of your age. I know. I put the dream away. But then in 2019, so for 3 years, I sort of built my courage and built my confidence. And then in 2019, I actually completed the challenge. But this time I went right across the country. So Liverpool to Leeds, and then onto the air and colder navigation over to Goole on the east coast. So 162 miles. And that just changed my life. And that was 2019. And obviously we went into lockdown and the pandemic, and I had a bit more time on my hands, and I thought, right, I'd like to write a book. And I wanted to make sure that I wrote the book because I wanted to talk about stories and picking up litter and looking after the environment. So I pitched the book and they said yes. So, and the rest is history.
So first of all, I love all of that, and that is one of the things that drew me to you with some of your posts. They were absolutely beautiful locations.
Thank you.
You mentioned that it changed your life. Have you been able to articulate how it's changed your life?
I just think that it gave me, I think my 40s weren't great, and I, after my divorce, I lost a lot of confidence. I lost a lot of courage. I didn't have a very high opinion of myself. I didn't feel that I'd made a success of my life, all those sorts of things. And so this just gave me all of that back, really. And I'd always wanted to be a writer. I didn't think it would be about paddleboarding. Obviously, when you're a little girl, I didn't even know what paddleboarding was, but I'd always wanted to be a writer. And then this opportunity came, and so I fulfilled a very long-term dream to write books that have done really well. And yeah, it just gave me back a lot of what I'd lost, really. Yeah, and a whole community of friends. And actually, one of the most wonderful things is in this book, Stand Up Paddleboarding in Great Britain, I paddleboarded in the centre of London with a really lovely woman called Anu. And today, her first book about paddleboarding in London has come out. So it's like a full...
I saw that.
Yeah, it's like a full circle.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. That's great.
Yeah, and you sort of think, it's just, I mean, it's with the different publishers, and some people could say, oh my gosh, that's competition. But to me, it's not. It's just like, we lift each other up, and it's come full circle that she's now, writing her own books, and I think that's just wonderful, really. So yeah, really.
Congratulations, Anu, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was on WhatsApp, and then I went out on the sea this morning, and it wasn't a great photo. I just got out of bed, but I was like, I'm going to take a photo with your book out on the sea. So yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah. Writing a book. When you think about your first one and then the third one, I mean, gosh, I feel like to me, it sounds like a daunting task. Anybody considering having aspirations of writing a book, anything you can share?
Just keep trying. I had pitched different books, and I remember pitching a book about the menopause and how exercise could help. And I remember getting a reply saying, it sounds like a great book, but we've got one book coming out about the menopause, and we don't think the menopause is going to be a big seller. And I don't know about the States, but in the UK, it's a massive seller. But she said, you know, your style is really good. It sounds really interesting. Just keep trying. And I think that's the thing. Just keep trying, and the more you try, the luckier you get. And that's, but then, you know, that's going down the publishing route with the publishers. I know a lot of people now are self-publishing, and I think that's a brilliant thing to do as well. If you've got a great story, you know, self-publishing, it's a much quicker route to getting onto the shelves. You have all that control yourself. So I think if you want to do something, then you will find a way, whichever route you take, and just be creative about that route.
So with your paddleboarding journeys and writing your 3 books, what are some of the things maybe the bigger challenges or the things that you thought, oh gosh, this is going to be really hard. I don't know if I can do this.
Within the paddleboarding or within the books, you mean?
Let's start with the paddleboarding.
I mean, for the coast to coast, it was really just believing in it, believing in me, because I'd done the big fundraising for Mum with the rowing machine, but that was different. That was just a way to just honour my mum's memory and to raise money for the cancer charity, Macmillan Cancer Support, and to find a way to put all this grief that I had. But the paddleboarding one was like the first time that I had really said I wanted to do something and put my head above the parapet to say, I'm going to become the first woman to paddleboard across the country. Nobody had done it. My friend Jason, he had done it in the February, but I would be the first woman. And I think the hardest thing was believing in it and believing in me and being able to put that idea out there and say, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try. I'm going to get to the start line and then complete it. So I think that was it, was just that self-belief, because I think once you know you're going to do it in your head, the physical just sort of follows, really. I mean, it was a long distance and it was a long way, but you just chip away at it. Just chip away each day, 11 days, you just keep paddleboarding a bit more.
Yeah, yeah. And so each one of those 11 days was a little victory to
Yeah,
get you to complete these big
yeah,
victories,
yeah.
right?
And some days the biggest victory was just getting out on the water, even though I didn't feel like I could do it. There was a point, I think at the beginning you're full of the adrenaline and it's all really exciting and it's going to be great, and at the end you can see the end in sight, but the bit in the middle is well, it's a bit like, sort of, Brené Brown says, the messy middle. You know, it's the bit in the middle which you haven't got the excitement, you haven't got the adrenaline for the end. You're just in the bit where you just have to get up and keep paddling. And that for me was when the doubt set in. And there was one night where I literally did not sleep because I was just thinking, what have I done? You know, how ludicrous this idea is that this 54-year-old woman who is not an athlete, but, don't get me wrong, I am not an athlete. Why? Why? This is ludicrous. And I didn't sleep that night. And then the next day I just was like, I kept saying to myself, look, all you need to do is just keep going. However long it takes, as long as you're not injured, just keep going. And so that's what I did. And then after that, I took the pressure off and I just said, yeah, just keep at it, literally, day in, day out. And then 3 or 4 days pass, and then you could see the end in sight, and you're like, oh, I can do this. So yeah.
Yeah, so those are the things that, behind the scenes that people don't see. They see the
Yeah,
finished product of what you do, but all the things that, like you said, the messy middle that took you to get there.
yeah.
While you were out on some of your journeys, what's one of the most outstanding or beautiful sights or places that you had to kind of stop and it was something that you didn't think that you were going to see or experience? Do you have a moment that stands out?
Yeah. I mean, writing the book, writing both books, the guidebooks, I got to go to extraordinary places. You know, I saw dolphins, I saw massive jellyfish, I saw sunsets and sunrises. On the coast to coast, the final day as we arrived, a massive thunderstorm happened right in the last 5 minutes, literally. And then a big rainbow came out. And when my mum was dying in hospital, she had said, if you see a white feather, lavender or a rainbow, you'll know I'm nearby. And obviously on a canal, there's lots of white feathers because of the swans and lavender grows, but to see the rainbow literally at the end was really incredible. And there's pictures of me sort of cry. We made a film about it called Brave Enough, A Journey Home to Joy, and you know, there's a lot of pictures of me crying. So that was pretty spectacular. But I think all around the UK, there's just moments that you just stop and you think. And I think because my first book came out when I was 57 and my second book came out when I was 59, I appreciated even getting the chance to write the books. You know, to write books as a woman in her late 50s in an adventure world, who is not, you know, some mighty athlete, is just pinched me just standing there, even just the simplest of, you know, glimmers on the water. But yeah, when you're paddling one evening like I did on the west coast of Scotland and you just see these dolphins, you're just like, how did that, you know, how come I'm doing this? How did this happen? And it's just, you know, it goes back to Dolly Parton. I just kept trying, literally. I just kept trying.
So on those days when you didn't think you were going to be able to try, did you have certain people that were part of your support system, or was it a lot of just that was inside yourself? Like when you had those days, you didn't want to get up, you didn't want to go out on the water. How did you get yourself up?
I guess because I put it out on my Instagram, just accountability. Yeah. And I honestly don't think anybody would have minded, but I was also
Right,
picking up litter along the way, and I was
right.
also fundraising. And I think if you're fundraising for a charity, that adds a motivation, because it's not just about you. I mean, it was nice to become the first woman, but the fact that I was able to pick up litter and raise money that would ultimately, hopefully, make a difference to people, that's really special. So I think that, I mean, jokingly, yes, Instagram helps, but I think that's the real thing, is that, well, I've made a commitment, I've set a goal, I have to do this because, you know, I have to keep my word to the charities, really.
You keep showing up for yourself too, which is a
Yeah,
beautiful thing.
yeah. And you know, I don't think you get to your late 50s, mid 50s, late 50s without having moments where you feel like well, for me anyway, you know, I disappointed myself. I didn't make the right choice. I gave into, not that I gave, you just learn things about yourself that maybe you think you're not good enough, that you're not strong enough, that you're not capable enough, whether that's society or somebody telling you it. And you sort of think, looking back, and this was something I wasn't gonna let this one go. You know, just simply
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna let it. I wasn't gonna let myself down. I was gonna make sure I did it. As just for the charities, yes, but for myself, so that I could, you know, put my head down at night and say I did that. And I think it's a bit like travel. Nobody can do it for you, and nobody can ever take it away, that experience. So
That's right.
you
Right.
know you did it. And on the days now when I think, oh God, I don't, you know, some days I think I've got nothing done today.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can call upon that strength for tomorrow. So yeah.
Mm. How about a shout out to some of the charities that you are supporting?
Yeah, so the first one was the 2 Minute Beach Clean, 2 Minutes Foundation, which encourages all of us to take 2 minutes each day just to pick up litter. And it's just a really simple, lovely idea. And I still do that today, just, you know, pick up litter wherever I am. And then the other was the Wave Project, which is a surf therapy charity. And that takes children and young adults who they may be carers, they may have their own mental health issues, and it takes them surfing. And it's not about being a great surfer, although some go on to be. It's about knowing that, there's some adults out there who have your back. And surfing, and now they do paddleboarding too. It's just a metaphor of, it's just a way to be out in the ocean, get up, fall down, get back up again.
I crack on. I love that. Yes. I've just learned that from my another UK friend. Let's crack on with that. Shout out to Sarah Archer there, my coach who's working with me. Hey folks, so I am sorry to say that when I went back to do the editing, things had kind of shut down and we were frozen. And so the rest of the interview with my friend Joe Moseley did not come through. But I wanted to not try and schedule a redo. I thought it was really important that the stuff that she shared earlier in the interview. So I'm going to put all the information in on how you can get in touch with her. And I'm sorry the last few parts did not come out, but I think you see that she is definitely a woman to check out her books, her adventures. She's courageous and brave and has a lot of inspiration. And my message to all my listeners, to always remember, when you love someone, you pay attention. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you.